Casper.com has created an outrageously comfortable mattress that you can try risk-free for 100 nights. Don't love it? They'll pick it up in-home and refund everything. Go to Casper.com and use code Colin for $50 towards the purchase of your mattress.
ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
The NFL and college football are two different sports. That's why I have no problem with NFL games making a prediction a week out and saying, yeah, I like New England this weekend and I like Seattle this weekend. 28-year-old men, grown-up quarterbacks, NFL staffs. I know what I'm getting out of Brady. I know what I'm getting out of Flacco. College bowl games, I wait until day of the game. 18-year-old boys, quarterback play can fluctuate. Nerves are a factor. There's different coaching stratas at the college game. The great coaches, average coaches. At the end of yesterday's show, I predicted Ohio State would win. I said the closer we get to the game, the more I like Ohio State. And the reason I said is because Urban Meyer had been here before. He's supposed to call us in a couple of minutes. I thought last night was not only a bit of a player mismatch, I thought it was a coaching mismatch. That is no shot at Mark Helfrich. I like him. He's a smart guy. But I had noticed he said something over the weekend, two things that bothered me. That's why I switched my pick. He said two things that bothered me. Number one, Mark Helfrich, Oregon coach, said, when asked about losing a star receiver, he said, it's not about players, it's about the system. No, it's about players, brah. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, it's about players. Systems, every coach has them. But there's a reason Nick Saban and Urban Meyer spend hours on recruiting. Okay, to elevate the system. He made it sound like, we got this thing going and, everybody's just replaceable. No, they're not. No, they're not. The second thing he said that bothered me was adjustments are overrated. He said, you can't reinvent yourself. I don't know. Seems like Ohio State did last night after the first drive. He made it sound like adjustments don't matter. I could argue it's Pete Carroll's great strength. I could argue it's Bill Belichick's great strength. This is nothing against Mark Helfrich. But it's not about the system. It's about the players. And adjustments aren't overrated. They're the most crucial part of any game. It's the difference between most college coaches and NFL coaches. What are the two things that stood out last night? Ohio State had better players, and they made better adjustments. In the NFL, you pick the quarterback first and the head coach second. In college, you pick the head coach first and the quarterback second. Urban Meyer is simply better than 99% of the guys coaching at the college level. He is special. This could have been his best coaching job ever. I had Brian Kelly, Notre Dame's coach, on last week. Remember that? And I asked him, what is it about Urban Meyer that impresses you?
His ability to get 105 players totally invested from day one.
Dude, he went to a third-string quarterback, all in. This team was not a championship team. It didn't look like, and I'm going to ask him that, it didn't look like a championship team in October. It didn't look like a championship team in November. That's why I wait. It's not a flip-flop. When I took Texas, USC, and said, up to the game, I'm starting to like Texas. When I said yesterday, I kind of like Ohio State. I think they're going to win the game. I thought it would be closer. But in college, I want to listen, hear, go to the stadium, look up. Urban Meyer had been there before. 9-2. He had been there before, and he is now joining us in the herd on ESPN Radio. Congratulations, Urban. When you were halfway through the season, did you think this team had any chance of doing this and winning a title?
No. This was one of those teams that was every day was another journey. Every day was another day at work. And I thought really we're a year away because I started seeing these young players developing, and Darren Lees and Zeke Elliott's and Eli Apples and Joey Bosa's. And I could go on and on. There was a gap. Anytime you have coaching transition, program transition, you have a little bit of a gap. I knew that. I've been around for a long time. But the development of the sophomore class was incredible. They complemented the older guys very well. So I didn't see that until the Wisconsin game that when you started really throwing around the word national championship, that's when I started thinking we have a shot.
When games are played, Urban, coaches tend to look at the offensive and defensive lines. Was there a moment last night when you felt inside, I like what I see?
Yeah, it was, Cordell, we had a couple turnovers, and then we said, let's settle things down a little bit and pound the ball, and I have one of the best line coaches in America, Ed Warner, and our line, that's one thing great about being on the sideline with him. I always ask them almost every drive, can you block them? And I saw them looking at me, and so we started just going right after a little counter plays and power plays, a little wham play. And I want to say after our a series of turnovers, we had back-to-back turnovers. After that is when I started thinking we can control this game up front.
You were loose at half. When Tom Rinaldi interviewed you, you were really very aware of the moment. When you went into halftime, what did you say?
Well, Oregon had about, I want to say, 6 games where it was very close at halftime from Florida State to Michigan State. They were actually trailing Michigan State. And one of our coaches, Chris Ash, coached against Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Then he told a story to me, and I related to our team about when they were jogging off the field at halftime, one of the players looked over at their players and said, we got you right where we want you, because that's their program. They're wear you out, and then they dominate in the second half. And, we felt great going into halftime. That was our whole conversation about, something you're taught all along, and we prove them wrong, that defeats a man's will. So we can't let them see fatigue. That was the whole conversation.
Yeah. Cardell Jones, I don't even know how to explain it. You are known as the great quarterback whisperer, I think, in college football. Have you ever had a quarterback grow so quickly?
I've never witnessed anything like this. From growth as a student, as a player, as a person, as Cardell Jones as he has in his past 6 months.
What makes him, what happened? What is it? Above the shoulders, what happened?
Colin, I asked him that about 6 minutes ago. I said, when was it? And he said, we do all this leadership training, and it's called E plus R equals O and Brotherhood of Trust. And that's when he started to defeat the demons of being selfish, of being lazy, of being immature, like we all go through. And I just asked him the same question about 10 minutes ago.
Wow. Coach, congratulations. I'd say get some sleep, but that's not going to happen for a couple of days. Just an unbelievable performance by you and the Buckeyes. Congratulations.
Well, thanks for having me on, Colin.
Colin Cowherd.
The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Welcome back. I want to thank Urban Meyer for coming on the show right before he went into the press conference. Did anybody notice this? Urban's known as one of the best recruiters in the country. Did anybody else notice this? I asked him as quickly as we could. We only had him for a couple of minutes. I asked him 5 questions. 4 of them, he told you stories. That's why he can recruit. He didn't give you statements. He told you little stories. That's how you recruit. That's why he's a great recruiter. He is that game last night, man. You gotta. And I loved his answer. He goes, "No, we didn't consider ourselves the national championship team until after the Wisconsin game." So all these Buckeye fans, hey, we knew. Oh, be quiet. Your head coach didn't know until 3 weeks ago. Give me a break. And by the way, you Big Ten fans, this is not a win for the Big Ten. It's a win for Ohio State. Stop it. They have a great coach. Okay, if you come from a family of 10, 9 are meth addicts, and 1 went to Harvard, you're not a great family. Okay, she went to Harvard, he's a great coach. Don't give me this whole, he won it for the Big Ten. Stop using your super successful brother to validate your career. You don't even have an asset outside of your Xbox. Give me a break. You use your ironing board as a kitchen table. Big Ten. You should see my email inbox today, Big Ten fans. Hey, we are back. No, Ohio State's great. Purdue, your apartment smells like cat, and you don't even own one. Stop it.
So amped up, dude.
What about an apology? Yeah, I'm sorry for ever acknowledging you're a conference outside of Ohio State. It's not a win for the conference. It's a win for Ohio State. Come on. Ohio State was great. Doesn't mean anything about anything else. They're great. Peter King will be joining us in about 15 minutes. I saw this. And I've always had sort of this, just kind of this belief. You got to be very careful because we got a bunch of NFL teams looking for coaches, and we got a bunch of candidates. The guy I like is Todd Bowles at Arizona, and I'll get to that in a second. Be very careful about hiring a coordinator from a football team that has a coach, a great head coach, with expertise on the same side of the ball. This is nothing against Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator in Seattle. But that's Pete Carroll's defense. And those are Pete Carroll's draft picks. And those are John Schneider's draft picks. Okay, that how much does Dan Quinn have to do with that? How many times do you think setting up for a big game, Dan Quinn goes, Pete, I got it from here. Pete, whoa, I know you're a defensive guru. I'll take care of it. Be very careful. Todd Bowles at Arizona, that's his defense. Because Bruce Arians is doing the offense. That's Todd Bowles' defense. He gets credit for that. So whoever gets Todd Bowles, you know one thing. He's making all the calls in Arizona defensively. He is probably going to the GM and saying, I want that college player and that college player. I want him here in my defense. I don't know that about Dan Quinn. Pete Carroll, that's like that Kirby Smart guy at Alabama, the defensive coordinator for Alabama. Sorry, but that's Nick Saban's defense. So I think you have to be careful hiring a number 2 who shares the same skill set as the number 1. And that's not to say that Dan Quinn couldn't be great, but I'd be very careful. I mean, again, Donald Trump's number 2 at his company in real estate. You know, I'm kind of a whiz. I made a lot of big decisions in real estate. Yeah, so did the Donald. I'm guessing most of them he had the final say on. So I'd be very careful about that. Todd Bowles at Arizona, I know when I watch them play, that's his team. That's his stuff. I know that. With Dan Quinn, I think, you know what I think people do? They feel like they're getting a piece of Pete Carroll. Like, hey, if we hire this guy, we're getting a smidge of Pete Carroll. We're getting some John. By the way, is Dan Quinn bringing Earl Thomas? Is he bringing Richard Sherman? Is he bringing Cam Chancellor? If he's not bringing those guys, it's not the same defense. So I just think I'm hearing a bunch of names, and I'm like, whoa, slow down. The other thing in the NFL, Denver's looking to hire a new head coach. And I said this, did I say this Monday? Yeah, I said this yesterday when I was in Fort Worth. That, I think it's over. I think it's reset button time for Denver and Peyton Manning. I do. Now, not everybody has to. Trent Dilfer came on the show yesterday and disagreed. I think it's over. Now, Tim Hasselbeck. Now, I said this. It's nothing against Peyton, but I watched the game. You watched the game. Denver fans booed. Okay, you watched the game. It feels like it's over. What about the quad muscle? I don't want to hear about the quad muscle. Everybody's hurt this time of the year. Aaron Rodgers was hurt. Romo was hurt. Cam was hurt. Everybody's hurt. Now, Tim Hasselbeck, first of all, he defends Peyton Manning.
Over the last 2 seasons, the guy has thrown for over 10,000 yards, 94 touchdowns, 25 interceptions, and he's won 25 games and lost 7. I mean, that's massive production out of the quarterback position that teams would die for.
Okay, yes, you are right. But then Tim also says this.
He would be paid about $20 million to play quarterback next year. $20 million is a lot of money even to somebody that's made over $200 million playing the position.
That's the rub. He's not a $20 million player anymore. It's a salary cap league. You know, it's like Derek Jeter. I don't have a problem paying Derek Jeter $22, when he's 31 years old. But in Derek Jeter's last year, he's not that kind of player. Robinson Cano can be, but Derek Jeter's not. So it's a salary cap league. Now, baseball doesn't have a salary cap, but in these other salary cap, hockey, basketball, football, every penny counts. That's why New England lets guys go. New England's like, we like Wes Welker, but he's not worth the money. And by the way, when you watch them post New England, he wasn't worth the money. Peyton Manning can win games. I'm not paying him 20. And Peyton Manning's a guy that's going to want 20. And I'm not paying him 20.
You're in the Herd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Peter King joining us, theMoneyMorningQuarterback.com. All right, I watched the game, Peter. The nation watched the game. You watched it. Everybody watched it. Peyton Manning is obviously not what he used to be. He got booed at home. Do you believe, will Peyton be in the NFL next season, Peter?
Oh, my gut feeling is that he doesn't want to go out like this. And if he can get healthy and he likes what he sees with the Broncos, maybe in 7 or 8 weeks from now, say 8 weeks in March, my gut feeling is he still wants to play. So, we'll see. But he's always said that he likes continuity, and there's not going to be continuity in Denver. And he's always said that he's only going to play if he feels like he contributes and is playing well. I think if he has the physical maladies, 2.5 months from now that he's had the last month or so, he'd probably really have questions and then may seriously consider walking away.
They've got several free agents. 4 or 5 I think are pretty key players. How many of those will they retain? How many will leave, in your opinion?
I think they've got to retain Julius Thomas.
Yes.
I think that is... See, that to me, that had a huge amount to do. You could draw a line of demarcation with the Denver season on offense. And Dupree, Julius Thomas, high ankle sprain at St. Louis, and then post. And they just weren't the same offense at all. Some of that had to do with the fact that Manning wasn't throwing the ball well, but I think a lot of it, too, had to do with the fact that, Julius Thomas was to him now what Marvin Harrison used to be in terms of security blanket in Indianapolis. And I know Demaryius Thomas, I know Emmanuel Sanders, he loved those guys, but especially when he wanted to throw short, Julius Thomas always got him out of trouble.
Yeah. Peter, I've always kind of had a belief, college or pro, be very careful about hiring a coordinator whose expertise is that of the head coach. It's nothing against Dan Quinn. Pete Carroll oversees that defense. How do I know that's Dan Quinn's defense at all?
Dan Quinn is sort of an invisible persona to people in the world because Pete Carroll is a dominant persona.
Right.
He's going to get one of these jobs assuming people can wait. And 3 weeks from now is a long time to wait because it could hurt who you hire on your coaching staff. But I think one of these teams right now is going to wait for Dan Quinn.
Peter King, the MondayMorningQuarterback.com. Cam Newton in a loss was impressive. I got to tell you, I thought Jason Garrett handled that loss with such dignity. Your takeaway on Dallas's loss and that call and that play?
I think Jerry Jones did a smart thing in keeping the ship in his hands and not panicking after another playoff disappointment last year. And I think they're going to sign him long term. As far as the play itself, the Dallas people are noticeably and correctly angry about this. But I think it's almost like if you don't like who your representative is, you don't like who your president is, whoever, well, you got to go and you got to vote and vote them out. And that's why you got to write to the league office. You have to say you've got to change it. Our Greg Bedard at the MMQB yesterday wrote a column that basically said they have to change, they have to overhaul what a catch is to simply having the ball in your grasp and having 2 feet on the ground. That's it. You got to forget this going to the ground stuff. And I think there's going to be a lot of sentiment in the NFL in the next 2 months to move to do that.
It feels, Peter, like a Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl, and it really does. And that's no shot at Green Bay, and that's no shot at Indianapolis. But I've felt like, since almost Thanksgiving, New England and Seattle are the best teams. I really absolutely believe that. Do you share that conviction?
I do, but I think both of the underdogs are going to play well on Sunday, and I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them won, even Indianapolis. I mean, Indianapolis was highly, highly impressive. I thought their secondary was absolutely terrific. Vontae Davis is one of the best quarterbacks in football, and he played a great game the other day against Manning.
Who's their defensive coordinator? You never hear about him.
Greg Minuski. And, basically it's a Chuck Pagano, Greg Minuski production, but Minuski does a great job. What he's going to have to do in this game, in my opinion, what they're going to have to do is they're really going to have to concentrate on mugging and being very physical with Rob Gronkowski. Because this just feels like last time the Patriots played in Indy, that was the Jonas Gray, the Jonas Gray 202-yard game, and now he's not even active. But I think the Colts learned a lot of lessons from that game, and I think they're really going to move the safeties down and really try to stop the run. I think you're going to see Gronkowski be New England's big weapon in this game.
All right, coin flip. Do you know, gut feeling, who's going to coach the Jets?
I would have told you over the weekend, I would have told you Dan Quinn. Now my gut is Todd Bowles.
I like him.
Yeah, I like Todd Bowles a lot, and I think he'd be a good coach, and he won't grab the back page as much as Rex did. Nobody will, but I think he probably suits what they want to do the best. Now, they're still in it. They're still going to do some interviews, but I think one of those two guys is the favorite right now.
Yeah, well, Bruce Arians runs that offense, and Todd has so much impact on that defense, and in that division, having to face Russell Wilson, I would like that choice a lot. Peter King, the Monday Morning Quarterback.com. Good talking to you, Peter.
All the best, Colin. Thanks.
Good stuff today. Get in touch with us, 1-800-FLOWERS. Twitter feed, Ohio State, the national champs. I don't know how that sits in the South because they've been taking shots at Urban Meyer, but in 11 bowl games, he's 9-2. Nick's 8-8. And what he did with this Ohio State team, Nick's never done that in his career. Take a team mid-season, losing quarterbacks, and make it a national champ. I mean, that's unbelievable. That what he did is unbelievable. Third string quarterback. He acknowledged we didn't even think about the national championship until after Wisconsin. And by the way, Urban's only 50. Okay, he's only 50. He could coach for another 15, 20 years. By coaching standards, he's pretty young. I mean, he really is. You know what? What's that lady from Alabama, Phyllis? I've been told she's even flipped.
He's a genius.
Yeah, even she is acknowledging that Urban Meyer is now the best coach in college football.
He's a genius.
He is, Phyllis. It took you some time, but clearly, finally, you and I are on the same page on Urban Meyer.
He's a genius.
Yes, he is. You can say it a million times. I totally agree with you.
He's a genius.
Thank you.
Want more of the Herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
It's great to have you in today. Congrats to Ohio State national champs. NFL teams looking for coaches. And we're going to have New England hosting Andrew Luck in Indianapolis this week. We're going to have Aaron Rodgers heading to Seattle. How good are those games? I mean, I get Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I get Andrew Luck and Tom Brady. How good is that? I mean, that is an incredible weekend we have coming up. And, it's big time. By the way, I'm getting all these Big Ten fans that are going crazy. Don't take it personally, but Ohio State's amazing. You can't latch on to Ohio State if you're somebody else in the conference. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I mean, give me a break. Ohio State hasn't lost a game in 2 years in conference. They won their championship game 59-0. This is not validation of the Big Ten. It's validation of how great Urban Meyer is as a coach. It's nothing against the Big Ten, but come on. The guy's unbelievable. Even he didn't think they were a national championship team 80% through the season. Derek, you're in the Herd. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Colin, long-time listener. Ohio State, Urban Meyer, they're like the CEO, the Harvard grads, but you said meth addicts earlier. Everybody else is a meth addict. I know you didn't mean that. I get that. You're a funny guy. Michigan State, though, I mean, they're doing pretty well. Iowa, not bad, making like $60K a year. They're doing all right in life. Indiana, yeah, okay, they're rough.
Yeah,
things aren't great over there. But
okay. I'll give you Michigan State. I think I like Michigan State. I was a little hard on Michigan State, but you got to admit, like 6 through how many teams you have, there's some sad stories, right?
Sure, but Penn State coming back up. Michigan, they're like the brother you have that they had a terrible wife for a long time. Finally got out of that. They got this great wife that you love. You love bringing her around.
Okay, all right.
I mean, things are getting okay there. And I'm a big Bucks fan, so I hate saying good things about Michigan, but
yeah, okay, Derek, I'll give you a little credit. Michigan will rise back up pretty quickly. Maybe I was a little hard on the Big Ten. 1-888-SAY ESPN, the phone number. Maybe I was a little hard. But, I grew up out west when USC was dominating and everybody in the Pac-12 was like, hey, look at us out here. No, look at USC. The conference when Pete was dominating was garbage. It was. Arizona schools were awful. UCLA was awful. I mean, Chip Kelly hadn't arrived yet. He was dominating a bad conference. Everybody in the Pac-12, all the honks were like, hey, look at us. No, look at USC. And I'm feeling that today. Hey, look at us. Whoa, slow down. What Ohio State did was magic. That was great, but let's slow down a little here. Yeah, it was it was the kind of game. It was. I know I'm getting a few emails. Oregon had a bad night. You got to be careful about that. Oregon had a bad night because of Ohio State. You got to be really, really. And I hear this all the time. Well, we didn't play like Florida State fans after they got smoked. We didn't play well. Well, part of that's Oregon. Oregon up the tempo. You weren't ready for it, and you got smoked and started turning the ball over. Last night, that's Ohio State's win. That's not Oregon's loss. That's Ohio State's win. So you got to give them credit for that. We've been on the road here as a show. Like I traveled, but I knew going into January it was not going to be great. And so I left like December 19th. I went down to Florida for a few days with my family, and I've been home for like 2 days since. So I was in Fort Worth for a week, and I had to do some shows in California, and Vince and I have been basically the band, and we've been on the road. So last night we got home just in time for the football game, watched it, crashed at about 1:30 in the morning. I'm here to tell you, man, when you travel, people think traveling is glamorous. But for all you people out there who travel a lot, and I don't usually, but for those who do, I've never wanted a sloppy Joe more in my life. I'm not kidding you, man. I'm not kidding you. Last night I'm driving home, and I'm like, can somebody give me something you can't buy at a restaurant? Even good restaurant food, you're like, I'm over it. And I know Stanzik here looking at me, oh, poor baby. If I see another bread roll, I can't take it anymore.
Hashtag first world problem, sir.
I was so, like Vince and I were talking last night. Like he looked at me and I'm like, the company took care of us. You go to restaurants and stuff. And I'm like, I'm shutting down. Just give me a Gatorade and a power bar and a couch.
Putting style in black T-shirts. It's Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports, was at the game last night. It was so dominant in the trenches for Ohio State, Bruce. That's what I saw on television. Is that what you saw there?
Yeah, it did. I mean, look, Ezekiel Elliott ran wild. I thought a bigger statement, even more than that, was as explosive as the Oregon running game is, Colin. They had 30 carries on the night, and the longest run for only 11 yards. That is so un-Oregon-like, and I think, this was a dominating performance, not just physically, but also, you talk about the tempo and endurance-wise. I mean, Ohio State, it was, to have 4 turnovers and still win like that, I mean, it's a credit to what Urban Meyer and that staff have done.
I mean, listen, Urban Meyer this morning, 9-2 in bowl games. Is there a better coach in college football?
No, I think he's right now. He has surpassed Nick Saban. Nick Saban's won one more national title. Nick Saban's also more than 10 years older. I mean, Urban Meyer's only 50. His record is 10-3 in games against top 5 teams. That's crazy. I mean, top 5 opponents to even be 500 is impressive, much less 10-3. And to see the turnaround jobs he's done, keep in mind, this team is probably a year away from where we thought it would be. I mean, you look at that game last night, the 4 elite top tacklers on the defense are all freshmen and sophomores. Ezekiel Elliott, a sophomore. You know, Cardell Jones is technically a sophomore. The top receiver was a sophomore. I mean, and they have 4 of the 5 offensive linemen back. I mean, I just, I thought it was a fantastic showing for the way Ohio State finished down the stretch this season.
Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports, and an author, The Making of a Modern Quarterback. Is it an indictment on Oregon's system?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, I think they ran into a better team. Look, they had a couple of meltdowns last night. You know, I wonder if the game would have been different. They are up 7-0. They're rolling, and all of a sudden, freshman receiver Charles Nelson drops an easy pass that would have given them a first down. Then they had another bad drop on a 3rd down for a wide open receiver. You know, if they go up 14-0, I wonder if Ohio State can pound them on the ground the way they did with Ezekiel Elliott if they're in a little more of a hole, because then maybe also Cardell Jones would be a little tighter. So, you know, I think at that point it just started to go south and it got away from them, and credit to Ohio State. But, you know, look, Oregon knows until they win a national title, whether they don't like it or not, you know, people are going to still say, are they soft? I think the reality is they got to get bigger and more physical on defense, because even if you looked at what Florida State did, it felt like Florida State stopped themselves more than Oregon did. Florida State had a bunch of meltdowns in the 3rd quarter. So I think that's going to be the challenge for them, is to continually upgrade the athletes in the front 7.
Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports. Okay, we look to next year. Notre Dame brings back their defense. Ohio State's going to be great. So is TCU. I mean, do you think the Buckeyes can do it again? Who else is out there next year you're looking at?
I keep an eye on Auburn. I like bringing in Will Muschamp. Remember, Carl Lawson, who was their best defensive lineman, he missed the year. He was injured. You know, I think the combination of Malzahn and Muschamp is dangerous, you know, for the rest of the league. I think they should be good. You know, I'm curious what Notre Dame has. They had so much attrition and injury. And remember, all the guys they had back, they also missed Kavari Russell, who is by far their best defensive back, you know, in the academic scandal. So that'll help. It's just we don't know what the quarterback situation is. To me, I think Ohio State is going to be to me, is the number 1 team going in, hands down. Not just because of all the guys they got back, but because they got Urban Meyer back. And I just think that if there's anybody who's ready to go back to back, I think he knows the mindset. And, you know, seeing him after the game, this didn't feel like Urban Meyer, you know, from 4 or 5 years ago when he was worn down and edgy. He seemed like he was 10 years younger now, and there's still an edge to him. And I think that, you know, I mean, look, it's going to take a lot for them to kind of get worn down, because I think they're just getting ramped up now with all these recruits.
Totally agree. Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports, sitting in an airport for some time today, and we appreciate you giving us a few minutes, bud.
My pleasure. Thanks, Colin.
You bet. Bruce Feldman joining us. One of the many people today we're trying to get on the show. We had Urban Meyer earlier, Peter King on some NFL stuff, Bruce Feldman. And a lot of stories today. Denver Broncos looking for a coach, which is interesting because if you're going to get a coach, that's fine. I mean, nothing against John Fox. You knew that game. He had to win that game to keep his gig. But if Denver's going to hire a football coach, if you're consulting Peyton Manning, to me, I think it's nothing against Peyton Manning. I think you're making a big mistake. I think that window's shut. I think it's over. I think it's closed. I think Denver saw it. I think Denver fans booed. So if you're going to hire a coach in Denver and, you know, they need a coach, I would not be consulting Peyton Manning. And, you know, it's time to quit for Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning would have to give up 2 massive years of salary, and there's a real chance he's not going to do that. And I'm not bad-mouthing him, but that's Peyton Manning giving up 2 years of salary. I don't necessarily think he's going to do that. But when you watch that game, you saw what I saw. I mean, it's over. I'm not trying to be, it's over. And because I like Brady, there is a sense that I'm brutal on Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning would never use his quad as an excuse, but Peyton Manning's fanboys will line up and use that as an excuse. And Peter King was on last hour. He talked about the possible Manning return.
My gut feeling is that he doesn't want to go out like this, and if he can get healthy and he likes what he sees with the Broncos 7 or 8 weeks from now, my gut feeling is he still wants to play.
He's going to want a lot of money. When you watch the games this weekend, there were 8 quarterbacks playing. 8. 8 quarterbacks playing. Who didn't look like they belong? I mean, I'm asking, who looked like they did not belong? Peyton Manning. I'm not laughing. But I'm saying, who didn't belong? I'm still getting emails, by the way, from Cowboy fans who are saying, Colin, that was a catch. I got on my plane last night, Cowboy fans like, hey, that was a catch. And I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to argue with you. But it wasn't a catch under the rules. File a formal protest with the league. We'll march together. I'm done with it. But it was not a catch. Okay? I don't like the rule either. I think the rule stinks, but it wasn't a catch. According to the letter of the law, which the NFL has. It wasn't. Jerry, you're in the Herd on ESPN Radio. Jerry, go ahead.
Hey, Colin, I'm a big Giant fan.
Cool.
Been going to the game since 1961, been to 7 Super Bowls.
Woo!
That was a catch. And I'm a Giant fan saying that.
Well, no, not under the rules, Jerry, it's not.
I understand that, but something needs to be modified so that guys like me who've been going to these games and watching games for a long time don't get fed up and turn the game off and then watch it later on the NFL Network.
Jerry, you're never going to turn the game off. You've been watching since 1961. You're never going to turn the game off.
Well, not permanently, but I think the league needs to really look and modify the rule. And I believe that was a catch, and I am a big Giant fan.
Yeah, and Jerry, we're
rooting against the Cowboys.
That's fine. We're all big NFL fans, but nobody's turning the game off forever because of that. And it's not.
I didn't say that.
You said
modify.
They're not. They may
modify the rules,
but it's not hurting the league. That call doesn't hurt the league at all.
Well, it sells tickets. It sells tickets, but I thought the game was supposed to be decided between the lines.
Well,
not in the booth.
Well, dude,
was the game decided between the lines?
It's decided both.
I don't know. Like in the old days, that would have been a catch.
It's not the old days. We're not in the old days.
I agree.
We're not.
We're not, Colin, but the game has changed so much. They might as well make it flag football.
Well, you know that's not true. It's not.
Colin, I know that. I love the game. I love the NFL. Football is terrific. It's something I watch, and I follow the draft. I'm a year-long NFL fan.
Okay.
But I'm disheartened by what I'm seeing with the officiating. I think the problem really is that the officials are all about the dollar. Okay?
Oh, boy.
They need to think about the best referees usually are a team, not individual officials.
All right, you have a good holiday season.
Technology gone bad. Gone bad. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
That Dallas catch has been ruled a no catch. I'm just giving you a heads up on that because I'm still getting emails. It has been ruled a no catch, and Dallas lost. I know a lot of you are apparently unaware of that because I'm still getting calls arguing it, but it has officially been ruled no catch by the Dallas Cowboys' Des Bryant. I'm just giving you a heads up in case you didn't know, because right now I'd say it's 5-1 people emailing me. That was a catch. It was not, and it's been ruled on, and Dallas is done for the year.
I thought the game was supposed to be decided between the lines.
It is, but the game has changed, and now we go to replays, which, by the way, baseball should have gone to a decade ago. It is okay, like right now. Now, our replays, I like them quick. I don't like them to last forever. I want to hurry up and get to them. I mean, but by the way, look at the replays, how often they change a play. It's incredible. The game last night, the playoffs this weekend. It's amazing how often touchdowns aren't touchdowns. It's incredible. Steve, you're in the Herd. Go ahead.
It's Justin, but that's cool. I want to talk about Cardell Jones. I don't think he's ready for the NFL next season. I think he needs more maturing. He's only played 3 games, and I don't understand why we're already saying he's ready for the NFL. I think 2 quarterbacks are going to come back for the Buckeyes.
He's not going to play for them next year. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to play, so you go to the NFL. He's not going to play. He was asked today about it. He said, it's very odd. I've started 3 games. You know, guys play their whole career to have that build up and that motivation to play. In my opinion, I'm not ready for that level yet. Urban Meyer said it's a conversation me and him will have down the road. To me right now, it's far out. That's what he said this morning. I don't think his stock's going to go up. I mean, to me, he's 6'5", he's 240, he's got a cannon, he's gigantic. Is he going to get bigger? I mean, do you come back and not? I mean, listen, coaches want quarterbacks to come back so they can play and have backups, and he's not going to start for them next year. I mean, J.T. Barrett's the starter. So, to me, we can argue about it, but is he going to be a better national championship quarterback? I'd go if I was him. But you know, coaches will talk him into it. He'll sit down, maybe not go into it. Some guys stay like Matt Leinart, it hurts them. Some guys, you know, Jameis Winston, to me, you're not going to get bigger. You get him in the game and let's see what he does. Marcus Mariota's run out of time. I mean, I just look at Cardale Jones and I'm like, this is what he is. Go play. Big, strong kid with a howitzer. Go play. Because is it better to sit on the bench at Ohio State, or is it better to get more practice time in the NFL as a backup? Go be a backup. He'd probably be a 5th-round pick. Go be a backup for 3 years. He's a big, strong kid. Go be a backup for 3 years somewhere in the NFL with an NFL coach, a quarterback coach. Sit in somebody's system. You're not going to be a high draft pick, so you can probably go to a good team. Is there a good team like Baltimore out there that's like, you know what, let's get this big, strong kid. He'll work in our stadium, in our division, and we'll sit on him for 3 or 4 years, and you could have the next Flacco. And Flacco plays for 3 or 4 more years, and then you got Cardale Jones. I mean, to me, that's what I would do. If I was an NFL team, he's a big, strong kid, and I played in a northern division, I'd take that kid and I'd put him on the sideline for 3 or 4 years. He's not going to demand to play. He knows, he's not right now a starter in the NFL. But, J.T. Barrett, the starter's coming back. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. He's not, to me, I don't see him as a first round, Listen, here's the thing with Urban Meyer. All his quarterbacks are great. Chris Leak was great, didn't get drafted. Tim Tebow was amazing, got drafted, didn't pan out. I mean, go look at him. Alex Smith, he made the first pick in the draft. Everywhere he's gone, he makes his quarterbacks great. Everywhere he goes, everybody looks at quarterback better with Urban Meyer. He's got the Midas touch. So Cardale Jones, if he comes back with Urban, he'd make him better. But I'm just saying, if I'm Cardale Jones, I'm like, I'd go to the NFL. I'd get NFL coaching. I'd sit somewhere. The advantage to Cardale Jones, you could go to a really good team. Jameis Winston's going to go to a bad team. Marcus Mariota's going to go to a bad team. Brett Hundley, UCLA, is going to probably go to a bad team. This kid could go to the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, seriously, he could go to Seattle goes, some northern team, Chicago, somebody that doesn't need a quarterback today, maybe Chicago will, that plays in really, really cold, windy weather with his arm and his size. A Pittsburgh maybe looks at him and goes, Big Ben's got 3 years left. This kid is the same size. Let's let him learn under Big Ben. Watch somebody of his size play. I think it could work for him. I mean, we can argue about it. But I don't see him as a kid that's ever going to be like a top 10 pick. I just don't see that. And I've said this about college basketball players. Go to the NBA. Go to the NBA and play against better players. I mean, it's nothing against Duke or Kentucky, but go to the NBA. So you don't have to go to class. Instead of playing 36 games against college kids, go play 82 against the NBA. Practice against the NBA. If you can go to the NFL and you're an NFL body, go to the NFL. If you've got the NFL body, go to the NFL. If the eligibility allows it, and you've got an NFL body and you've been productive and you just won, and my question is, he's going to be in a quarterback battle to start next year in college. Go get paid in the NFL, sit on a bench, sit for 3 years, get paid, and learn. That, to me, that's what I would do. But, again, Urban Meyer's a great recruiter. He's probably recruiting him right now. He's probably talking to him right now and recruiting him to stay at Ohio State. I get that. That's what coaches do. That's what coaches do. I said this earlier, and we lost. We had to put our pet down last night, Bugsy. And, I have never experienced that before, and I was on the road all month, and so I got a call yesterday afternoon, and it had gone from we'd talked about it on the show, from bad to it was time, and a lot of crying, a lot of kids in the phone crying, really, really tough. And I never, I was one of those guys that, I had a dog growing up, and I loved animals, and, but I never really understood, people would say it's like losing a member of the family, and I was like, okay, I didn't really get it. I got it yesterday. I really got it yesterday, and it was pretty profound. And so when I got home last night, it was a quiet house and a lot of tears, and it's an amazing impact an animal can have on a family. It's just amazing. And many of you have gone through it. I had never gone through it until last night. I'd never gone through it, and it is. I listened. I sat there, and it's like, wow, this is what people talk about. And for years, I never understood it. I do now. I get it now. So we'll see what.
I mean, that's weird. Did you take him for a final walk, say goodbye?
Oh, no. Yeah. Last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, we did all. Listen, you can. My whole thing is once you go to pain, you don't want to see animals in pain. And once you see that, you're like, okay. So that's the point it got to. But no. We knew. Yeah, we talked about it on the air.
No, I know. So then for you come home, it's like, all right, me and Bugsy, let's take him for one final walk. Let's say our goodbyes. How does that happen?
The kids all went, and they give him a sleeping pill, and then there is the shot, and it's incredibly emotional. It is profoundly emotional, and it's one of those things. I never thought we had these long discussions. My wife and I this was a topic for over a month. What do we do? What do we watch for? What do we see? I never, ever, ever thought. It's just amazing. It was kind of to live through that experience. I'm like, wow. It was, I would never think I would say this. It's like losing a family member. For my entire life, I'm like, oh, give me a break. And I'm like, no, it is. It really is. R.I.P. Bugsy.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast.